Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I'm your host, Tony Jameson, and joining me as always is the one and only Rich Owens. Rich, how are you, buddy?
I am quite well, actually. Thanks, boss. I'd stop and think about it for a second there. No, I'm doing okay. It's, as we're recording, it's Friday evening. I have just returned home from a very, very exciting children's fete at my son's school. It's been good. You know, I got conned out of £10 the second I walked in, because they were like, "Oh, we're not doing much cash this year. So if you give us £10, you can buy like fate tokens." So when you go to a place like Disney World and they have like Disney money, and they're like, it's regular money but fun. And then as you're walking around, only like 3 shops actually accept Disney money. Very, very similar at this school fete.
All like Scottish pound notes, basically.
Yeah, quite. So it's like, yeah. A bus driver would have to accept this as legal tender. But yeah, so you're just wandering around. I was like, "Oh, can I have a go on this?" And you try and give them tokens. They're like, no, this is 50p a go, mate. So, which was disappointing. The only thing that there were 2 tombolas that took it, and one of them was the adult tombola that had all the booze on it. So, you know, I gave them all my tokens at the end, and my daughter was like, "Daddy, can I pick the tickets?" I was like, "Go on then." So I gave them enough tokens for 10 tickets at the booze tombola. If you hear any knocking at the door or the window during the record, that's her. She's outside sleeping in the garden. Not a single winner from 10 tickets. Absolutely furious with her. She's like, "Oh, well, Daddy, I won a unicorn on my go." I'm sure you did. You horrible, horrible child.
You know what, though? It's not the only potential winnings tonight as well. It's the Euro Millions, 170 million. Mrs. J's put that on for me. So again, if this podcast ends abruptly, we've won the Euro Millions. If it goes to time, then you'll just hear an angry man once again, not a millionaire.
You were so close. But you've got to be in it to win it. So.
I've got my Euro money and everything. Like I've transferred it all over and everything. Bought me tickets. I should be rolling in it by this. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion, right?
Exactly. You know, you buy a ticket, you win the lottery. That is my understanding of the
literally the phrase. Yeah. That's literally the phrase.
It's printed on the tickets. Yeah. Should be fine.
But yeah, so apparently that's the situation there, right? So we're gonna do that. We also have to say as well, by the way, that it's Canada Day, up the Canada. Congratulations, Canada, and we're celebrating with our little Tim Hortons French vanilla on here as well. But before we go into all things Canadian, let's welcome a returning guest. Everybody, say hello once again to the wonderful FM girl, Alice. How are you? Are you well?
What's up, nerds? I'm very good. I'm very well today. It's too hot in my room. And this stream, I apologize if everything collapses because of it. I'm just like, I have to stop. I have to go. I have to get out of here. But we should be good. Right?
we said the same thing before we started. Going like back in the day when we used to record just a podcast. This was brilliant. We could look at a mess. We could melt during the course of it. It'll be fine. But now it's like, gotta try and look presentable. It's like, is Tony getting a suntan? No, he's got a lamp on. That's it's just not good. It's not good. But no, it's a pleasure having you back, of course, as well, because we had you on previously. So we've now had a bit of time to elapse. So we'll sort of chat about what's happened between then and now. Obviously, we will say about the Canada thing. We obviously have to mention our Discord challenge this month was Canada.
Mm-hmm.
There's one season wonder with Valor. So shout out to Scooter, who's of course the Valor rep in our community and all of the Football Manager community, to be honest. I'll level with you, right? I'll level with you, okay? I've never managed in Canada before until this challenge. I like it. I've heard a lot of people say it was fun, and you know what? It is fun. It is like Matt, former podcast host Matt Richards. He loved Canada. He had a long-term save going on where he was doing a Build a Nation, and he waxed lyrical about it. And I was like, "Oh yeah, but you would like that really, because like salary caps, it's like rotation." I'm like, it's not gonna be for me, but got involved, and I was like, I quite like this, you know. I quite like this, and yeah, I did well. I started badly. I started very badly. I lost about 5 games of the first 7 matches, and I was like, going, this challenge is going to be short. Going to be sacked fairly quickly. and somehow managed to turn it around. Got myself a bit of form going on. We then looked pretty unbeatable for a while. Signed a Cameroonian midfielder who played 11 matches for me and was sent off 3 times. So that was quite a remarkable business. He really sort of like went, I'm here to do the kicking. And I was like, don't think that's the plan. He's like, I'm doing the kicking. I was like, okay. You go and do it. And every time he got sent off, I was like, you can get fined. He's like, that's fine. Totally fine, boss. Completely understandable. He was so lovely about it. I fell in love with Ascanio, the winger who's on loan from, I think it's Valladolid or Valencia or something. He was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant player of the season, both for me and in the actual league campaign as well. And yeah, we finished second in the league. I'm going to do a long story short story. We finished second, about 15 points behind Halifax, who ran away with it. And then we played the Canadian Cup, which is like not just, and this sounds really obvious, but like it's not just the Canadian league teams, but also the Canadian teams who play in the MLS are eligible for this as well. So I got drawn against Montreal. And I beat them 2-1 in the first leg of the semi-finals, and I was going like trying to calm my heart, my chest, and everything down, going like, we need to stop. It's going to be cool. Don't panic. Second leg, we lost. We went 1-0 down. We went to extra time. They had a man sent off. We had a man sent off in extra time. 3 minutes to go. They made it 2-0, and we went out. And I was like, oh, right, it's fine. Sort of like over the course of that, we've tried. We've done okay. And then we had the Premier Cup, which is something that we probably should have won. And York beat us 3-1 and absolutely decimated us. So I properly Tony Jamesoned it right at the end. I got so close. Going, how's the save, Tony? Brilliant till the end. Now I hate it. But I must admit, I've now started to get some plans in place, and I started transferring as I was going along, and I was like, I might keep this going, there might be something that's in the background for me that maybe. Also as well, shout out a player I found on the search called Elton John. So there you go. Maybe get him in later on. We'll see. Rich, how did I'm not even going to attempt any Elton John puns at all. I'm going to leave that. Leave it in the comments below. Tweet me your Elton John puns. Do that. Also, I didn't sign Asamoah Gyan as well. I nearly did, but I went against it. Rich, how did you find it?
Well, I very, very similarly to yourself. I've not managed in Canada before. In my head, it was as complicated as the MLS. So I was like, it's not for me, not the league for me. And then when I got into it, I was like, I don't mind a salary cap. I can deal with a salary cap, and I can deal with, international player registration. I really, really like you don't have to play under 21 Canadians, but there is a financial penalty if you don't. It's a comparatively small amount, but in terms of the Canadian Premier League, it's club leveling. Very, very similarly to yourself, because I think I started a little bit before you. So in terms of like the updates we saw on the Discord, when I saw that you bought Asamoah Gyan on trial, that was literally the first thing that I did. I said, my guy. It's like, we're going to have a very, very similar experience in Canada. Although, as it turns out, I think our actual league form, I think we kind of inverted, because the save started and I just went on a tear. I think I went 15 unbeaten at the start of the season. And I was like, I think I've cracked it. I think I'm there's a little kind of command I use in my chat when I'm streaming. They call me Rich DF Tactics sometimes. I'm the most tactical man on the platform. I can't be stopped. And I was like, I've cracked it. I've come up with the ultimate tactic. This is incredible. No, this is brilliant. And then the wheels fell off quite spectacularly second half of the season. And I was like, at one point in the save, I think I had a 15-point lead on second place, which was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And I was like, sat there feeling very, very smug. And then, as I say, by the end of the season, we hung on to first in the league, but it was by about 4 points. So we just stopped. I think teams figured out the tactic, which was horrible asymmetric, weird shadow strikers in Gabriel.
I had a false 9. I quite like that.
Nice. I wanted to use a false 9, but I just couldn't get it cooking. I think is it Ponce, the striker? Yeah, I just couldn't get a song out of him. Top goal scorer in the league for me.
Yeah,
nowhere near for me. Just couldn't get it to work with him. Very, very similar to yourself in the Canadian Cup. I made it to the semi-finals, and I drew one of the MLS teams. And I thought, well, this is where the story ends. Drew 2-2 in the first leg, and then it was 1-1 in the second leg. And I was like, well, if we need to go for it. Because we were up in the game. It was one of those games where, all the highlights were us. We were looking stronger. We looked more likely to score. I was like, right, we'll throw some bodies forward. We'll go attacking. Knockout cup football is what you've got to do. And we lost 5-1. So there it was. It was every single attacking highlight that went against me, they scored. It was yeah, it was. Shout out friend of the podcast, just all around good person, Jebaru. It was Dorito mitts. It was just horrible tortilla wrists, just goalkeeper palming everything into his own net. Horrible business. But then to counteract it, we obviously made it through to the playoffs from the league stage, and a horrible, really, really tense 0-0 final. We made it all the way through to the final. It went to penalties, and I made a signing halfway through the season, because obviously in Canada you've got only a certain amount of designated international players, but because the way the Canadian season runs, obviously halfway through the Canadian season it's June, July, so players become available from Europe on free contract. I made a very, very ballsy play. I was like, we need a bit of creativity. We need a bit of creativity in our midfield. And there's only a finite number of players that could be able to come in that, might do what we need them to do. So I made a signing, which I took some pelters for in the Discord. Alice, have you got a potential favourite kind of elderly midfielder in the database who, you might have drafted maybe at least once? Slightly Scandinavian sounding, I think.
I approve of this signing 100%. You are a genius in my eyes.
MGP. He came in halfway through the season. I was like, I'm going to sit him in the midfield. Deep line playmaker. He can ping the ball around. He's got long shots. He can't run very far, but in my system, he doesn't need to. And I'm thinking, this is going to steady the ship. The goals are going to come back. The assists are going to come back. We're going to be a threat from set pieces. Going into the final game of the season, he had scored 0 goals and assisted 0 goals. So I was like, well, this. Yeah, but I'm going to keep playing him because I've signed him and he's on a princely £950 a week in Canada, which is might as well be 950,000 in Europe. Steps up, scores the winning penalty to bring the league to valor. I was like, yes, I approve of this. This is right. The ticker tape comes down. MGP goes up. He's not the captain. If I'm not giving the armband, I'm not mental. But yeah, he's there. He's on the podium. The trophy gets lifted, and very similar to yourself, Tony. I've said this a lot about a lot of the Discord challenges, but I think I want to go back to the point where you see people, and we talked about it when we sat down and chatted to Dupe a little while ago. We talked about people you see. So who's got plans for FM23? And there's now a little bit of me that's going, oh, Canada. It could be a goer, It could be a goer. It's such a fun league. It is such a fun league. And if anything, let me be the example here. If you're looking at a league, if you're thinking about saves, for the remainder of the FM22 cycle, if you're thinking about leagues you've never been to before or what you can do, and you're thinking, oh, that might be a bit complicated, take the plunge. Go somewhere like Canada. Go somewhere like Mexico, where you might not have managed yet, because it's so much fun. Cannot recommend it enough. Got to agree. And I said, well played, man. Awesome work. We will, of course, do a little recap of this month's challenge at the end of the podcast, because I think we've spoken enough about our saves. But it is in the Discord, of course. Joining the links
in the description. Speaking of saves and changes of direction, the last time we spoke to Alice, you just started streaming. You just got into it. Alice and Wrexham was a thing. We'll come back to MGP as well in a wee bit. Don't worry about that. Alice and Wrexham had just started. Now, 2043 is where we currently are in your save. I think it's safe to say you're committed, right?
Yeah, like when I play Football Manager, like I fully understand people's desire to go to a club, spend a couple of seasons there, you know, and once they've achieved what they want to achieve, you know, start a new save, go back to 2021, which is technically the start of the save, isn't it, at the moment? They go back to 2021 and, you know, start again with a fresh set of in a fresh universe, essentially. But for me, the long journey is where it is at, like, you know, 22 years in the future currently with my current save, and the entire time we've been at Wrexham, and it's time to move on. But I don't want to move universe. I want to stay in the universe that we've built, and I want to go somewhere else and experience the kind of the world that Wrexham have formed from a different perspective, from a different club in a different country.
I love that. I love that because you're right. Like the easy way out is to go again and go like, right, 20 years on, let's go to a different country and start again, and that'll be a different universe, and we'll have a thing. But right, talk us through the potted summary then with Wrexham before we go on to letting everyone know where you've gone, because again, I remember when you announced it, I was like, oh, I like this. I like this as a change of direction, because I quite enjoyed the Wrexham save. We started that as our first Discord challenge for FM22 at the start. You obviously went full tilt on it. So give us some of the highlights, give us the story, and of course talk to us about Blakey as well, who's the greatest left back that's ever played non-league football. Like you've got it. If this is a little tip to anyone, by the way, who's playing non-league football, Blakey, he's the man, right? He is the man.
100%. Always sign Matthew Blake if you are in the conference or even League Two. I think he's more than capable of holding his own in League Two as well. But yeah, we started the save. Obviously, Wrexham start in the conference, and it's so easy at the start of the game, you know, because Wrexham have all that money. They have the reputation, the support. They've already got the player base at the club. So the first couple of seasons of Wrexham are too easy, if anything. We got promoted. We got back-to-back promotions right up to the championship. You know, and I think we came first in all of those leagues. And again, like you said, it was like the likes of Matthew Blake that kind of took us there because of how good he is. You know, Liam Cullen is another one, like another a Welsh player that's really good to sign. Usually pick him up on a free at some point. Super creative. Then we spent a couple of seasons in the championship. I think it was like 4 seasons in the championship. Wasn't much to speak of, a bit of up and down, but eventually we didn't even win it. We just came second and got promoted to the Premiership. But that was just the platform that we could build on. So when we got to the Premiership, we found, or at least I felt as though the game was too easy at this point. You know, as Wrexham, you know, I've only taken 7 years to get to the Premiership. So I kind of set myself a bit of a handicap for the save in that I was only allowed to sign 1 non-Welsh player per season. So every other signing for the save, every other signing for Wrexham had to be a Welsh player. And what that meant was it kind of slowed the save down a lot. So the progression from getting promoted to the Premiership to actually winning the Premiership took like 15 years essentially. And I love that because I don't want to feel like the game is too easy. And I think when you can just go to Brazil, find all the wonder kids, you know, and 5 years later you have the best squad in the world, nobody can touch you. And I just feel as though that was a bit too easy, and I didn't want to experience the game like that, because I think I've experienced the game like that way for God knows how long, for like countless FMs before FM22. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to experience the game in a different way. And now we have finally won the Premiership. In 2043, we won the Premiership, we won the FA Cup. We didn't win the Champions League. We bottled 3 Champions League finals along the way. And then in the final season, we got to the semi-finals, got knocked out 8-2 on aggregate against Spurs. And it was just like, it's time to move. It's time to say goodbye to Wrexham. But it was such a wild ride. And the amount of players that have within my stream, within the viewers that watch, we've formed attachment to a lot of these players, and that's what it's all about for me. Like that's what was so much fun about the Wrexham save, was these players that don't exist in real life. They came through the youth systems of my club and other clubs, and now they are the world in which we live in. There's no Haaland anymore. You know, there's no Haaland. There's Thomas Wynn. There's Schundebol and all those kind of players.
But that's what it's all about, though. Like you're right. Like we're very much the longevity, the long-term save. That's where we lie. That's what our preference is for a save. And you know, people obviously would play a game however you want, but personally, I like to get in and go long distance as well. I don't like going to the top leagues. I like going to the low leagues, so that I never know who the wonder kids are because I never look at them. At the minute I'm at Brackley. Like I don't need to know who the wonder kids are. Like I just need to know how to get a win. That's all I need. Like So for me, like to watch you do this save, and again, like the fact that it's your first Twitch save as well is surely going to have to hold something special for you.
Yeah.
And to sort of like get as far as you did, I mean, it is wonderful. And there must have been was there a tiny bit of you that went, I need the Champions League, or is it just going, no, it's time to go? Because I think that's braver to be like, no, we're just going to go. Like I've said, we're going.
Yeah.
Like that's class.
There was definitely a part of me that was kind of like, basically I had set the challenge that, so in 2042, I set the challenge that we have 2 years to win the Premiership and the Champions League. A year later, again, we failed in the Champions League. So we then got to 2043. And I felt as though after winning the Premiership and the FA Cup, I felt as though we could spend a couple more years here. But what are we really achieving at this point? You know, I think we've already proven to ourselves that we're the best, or one of the best teams in the world. And at that point, with the kind of money we had in the bank, it was just a matter of time rather than actual skill. And so at that point, it's just like, it's time to go. It's, you know, there's no point in playing for another season or two, because honestly, not much would have changed. It would just been a case of just hoping the dice roll my way. But at the end of it, when we left, so I finally made the decision just to leave, and it was actually quite an emotional moment to leave. And I know this sounds a bit stupid. It sounds a bit, like, why would you be so emotional over the game? Obviously, it was 22 years in game, but IRL, that was 8 months of my life. From the moment like I started playing Football Manager, 2022, to that moment was 8 months of my life, and that is a lot of time to dedicate to one club. And there was a lot of attachment there, and like with the players that I had kind of brought together, and leaving it was sad, not only because of the game itself, but because that's when I started streaming, and the people that were watching me during this entire adventure had only ever known me managing Wrexham and being part of that long-term save. It was a very emotional moment the last time when we resigned from Wrexham.
Well, yeah, I mean, 8 months of your life into any kind of creative endeavor is a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that, as you say, it was 8 months of streaming, and the fact that you were, 20 plus seasons in, just shows how, because you are, as anybody who is aware, anybody who watches Football Manager content on Twitch will know, you are a prolific streamer. You put the hours in, and it's wonderful. To have to then make the decision to step away from a long-term save like that, it can't be easy. I mean, you know, I think that the longest I got on FM21 was, I think, 6 years with Sheffield Wednesday, and making the decision to kind of, you know, skill quit the save, not rage quitting, skill quitting. It was a skill quit, you know. You know, you give it a month to save your job, you need to win X amount of points, you know. I think, you know, having a breakdown at, you know, midnight and playing again with 5 trequartistas and then inexplicably winning it when you couldn't buy a win for the 2-3 months previously, and then going, you know what, I'm going to jump before I'm pushed. That in of itself, you know, I found that was a bit weird for me. I was like, I'm a lot more attached to this save than I thought I was going to be. 20 plus seasons at the same club, you know, it's a testament to your dedication to it, first of all, to have got that far, and then again it's that self-awareness to know that, like you say, you know, what are you going to hang around for? It's essentially treading water in a save, which is never fun. Like I say, the self-awareness to be able to make that decision, and that's incredibly commendable, because there's so many people like that. I would struggle to leave a club after 20 seasons, regardless of who it was.
Yeah,
you know, that's quite an incredible thing.
I mean, yeah, I've got to agree. Like, I mean, I love the point you made though about sort of the moment you knew it wasn't worth continuing is like the wrong phrase, but like, you know, when you like, we could just keep going. You're like, we could just keep going, but it would be boring. Like,
yeah,
I totally get that. Like, because what you've done there is you've looked at not just you yourself and how the stream's going. You're looking at how your audience are gonna look at it, going like, oh, hey guys, like, you know, here's the situation again. Like, in you come, we're gonna just win the league again, and we might get to the Champions League semi-finals, and oh, we're in the final, and okay, same again next time. Like, it loses a bit of momentum, I guess. And you're right, when there is that predictability kicking in, like, I felt something similar, and it's not similar at all because our achievement was so much less. When we were doing the Indonesian save, we won the league, and then we got into the Asian Champions League, and I was like going, we won the league, and we won the Asian Cup, and I'm like, I don't think we have enough interest in this save to even have another season of trying to win the league again. Like, that's just, let's leave. Like, that's, you know, that's that thing. Like, we could have just walked the league again quite easily, but it's just like, what's the point? You're right. Like, it's not fun for anybody. Nobody wants to sit and watch someone just press a space bar continuously and then talk for 3 hours. Go, oh, how was the stream? Oh, they won everything again. Like, it was great. We talked loads, but I didn't really see anything. There was no drama. There was nothing to engage with. But to take the step away from Wrexham, and as you say, to stay in that universe is what I love. I love that. You're staying in that universe going, this is our world, right? And you've not gone to what I think most people would say would have been the easy step of going to a, presumably people are listening to this going, oh, have you gone to Real Madrid? Have you gone to Barcelona? Have you gone to Bayern Munich? Or have you gone to Italy and taken over AC Milan? You've not. You've gone to a nation which I really enjoy managing, and I don't manage in there enough. And oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Like, you need to tell people what you've done, because, as I say, I saw it and I was like, yep, I'm on board. So
because we're in 2043, the world of football is very different to what it is now. You know, in my save, Newcastle went into administration and have gotten relegated. They're in the Championship now. And what has also happened in Holland, a club that was previously unplayable, you know, they have not been playable for like for the existence of Football Manager, have somehow gotten promoted to the Dutch second league. And I saw this as an opportunity. So we've signed for Rheinsberg Boys. It's a club in the south of Holland, in South Holland, on the coast, and they are essentially coming from nothing because of the way the game works. Because they've just come up from a league that doesn't exist. They didn't have any proper players. They had like players on amateur contracts. They didn't have any staff. When I joined, I was literally the only staff member. And we've got like 14k a week to spend on wages. And I think the club was only spending 1,000 of it. So we are essentially starting from scratch from nothing with like a 1-star reputation. So nobody wants to sign for us. But that's the challenge. And so this season that we've signed for them, we just need to stay up. That's all we need to do. We just need to stay up and just try and build a reputation in the Netherlands. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very difficult.
Just a question on one of the points you've mentioned there, Alice. When you say that you realised when you signed that you were essentially the only kind of backroom staff member, how long did it take you to realise that? Because I'm only asking because there might be somebody sat on this podcast who may at some point have been managing at a club for a number of months before it took them. They realised on stream that they might not have had any backroom staff at all. So I'm just wondering, just how long that took you. It can't have been instantly. Surely not instantly, because it's not the kind of thing people check when they start a save, is it? That's mad.
For me, when I look at Football Manager, I don't look at it. I don't know if I might have talked about this in the last podcast. When I look at Football Manager, I don't look at it as a football management game. The way I look at it is a business management game. That's just me. That's just how I like to play Football Manager, as a business manager game. And one of those management aspects is the backroom staff. So the first time I ever go to any club, the first thing I look at is the backroom staff, and I'll build what I want it to be. And as soon as I signed my contract with the club, I was in there straight into the staff screen. It was literally the first screen I went to. So I'm afraid you're on your own there, Rich.
I just like how you assumed it was me that did that.
I like the fact there was part of me going, when did I do this? Did I stream and not know I had backrooms? There's part of me go, what save was it? I quite like HR manager though. I quite like the I also love as well the fact you're clearly the greatest manager in the world, or at least one of the greatest managers in the world in your universe. You rock up at this little club in Holland and you're like, hey, what's up, nerds? And they're like, what? You want to come here? Like, are you looking for directions or something? You're like, no, I mean, I'm your new manager. And they're like, it's not April the 1st. This has got to be some sort of joke. Right? Like, I would get other members of staff to come in and check this is not real, but we don't have any. So
the game doesn't know how to process this. Because this is kind of isn't something that happens in real life, really. When you get literally one of the best managers in the world, aren't then going to go to a lower league of a nation that it doesn't have the same reputation as the big 5 or 6, however many you want to kind of like say that is in Europe. And so the game doesn't know what to do about it. So when you go for the interview for this job, you should expect to go into this interview and they're like literally like I can't believe you want to come join us. Like, this is amazing. Please just sign the contract. We will give you whatever you like. Like, that's kind of like what I feel like might happen in real life. But exactly. The game is just
first question. Why?
Yeah.
I want that when you do the first meeting, meet the press conference.
Yeah.
I want the first question from the media to be, are you sure though?
Is this a prank?
Yeah.
It would be great if your job interviews. Can I just ask for your autograph? Ha! Fooled you. You're here now, right? That's you done. You sign like a program by accident. You realize you've been tricked.
Exactly. It's Parks and Recreation fans out there. Is Ben Wyatt going to work at that little accountancy firm because they're just so happy he's there? But then within 24 hours, guys, I'm really sorry. Porto have just come in for me, and I'm gonna. Because they've got so many Portuguese. Okay, well, you know what? We can't be angry at you. Thanks for just considering us. It's like, do you need a reference? We'll give you a reference.
This is a kind of a thing that there's a phenomenon. Forgive me, I can't speak English right now. That would happen if you did that. There would be a massive reputation boost for that club. You can imagine Jose Mourinho going to Bromley, in England, the team would have a massive spike in reputation. It would get more. They would sell far more tickets. They would get more fans. They would get lots of merchandise. Like, I know a manager isn't like the most glamorous part of being in football. You know, it's usually the players, but I think that would still happen, and it's just not something that does happen in real life. And the game is just kind of treats me as the normal manager. And like I went on day one, I asked the board, could we have a senior affiliate? And you know, in real life, I have a funny feeling they would be like, that sounds like a great idea. We trust that you know what you're doing. What club do you think we should go for? Instead, they were like, you've literally just got here. Get out of my office. Like,
who do you think you are?
How
exactly.
dare you?
You've
not even won a Champions League. Get out of my office.
You're not even pronouncing Reichberg properly.
Essentially, that's what happened. And you're just like, fair enough. What are you going to do?
I like the fact you've sort of said, like, you know, that going to a club like that wouldn't give that boost. But I guess in essence, you've sort of had that with Wrexham, because that's the boost Wrexham had anyway, isn't it? With the new owners coming in, they do get that boost because they do get more people through the door. They get more players, obviously more willing to sign. They've obviously got a bit more money than the other competitors in the league. But it would be really interesting to see, you know, a full house of like 60 people at your first match, and like all the other clubs in the Dutch second division going, oh, for God's sake, like we thought we had a chance, and then when FM girls turned up, you know, like she wants a senior affiliate. I bet she's on the phone to Wrexham. I bet she gets Wrexham loanees coming.
That's definitely what I wanted.
All these Welsh wonder kids coming over to Holland, and there's this, like, you know, link up between Holland and Wales, and it's just like you meet these sort of Welsh/Dutch wonder kids.
Yeah, and like in real life, that's what would happen. You know, players would want to move to you. Players that wouldn't otherwise consider moving to the club are far more likely to do so, just because of who you are as a manager, just because you're one of the best managers in the world. But in the game, again, it doesn't quite see it that way. It does to some degree, but not to the extent I think it might happen in real life. And so we're going to struggle. We're not getting the players in that we need. And I think survival is doable, but won't be as easy as I hoped it was going to be.
Well, I'm personally, I'm just excited about watching. I'm very, very excited to see what happens. You know, it's like you say, it's you know, world-class manager managing at, you know, Dutch second tier team, and I think that's just a recipe for great content, regardless of what happens. Very, very excited by that. Yeah,
I'm just hoping I don't get relegated season one, because when you go down, that's it. You're sacked regardless of what happens, because there's no third division, there's no third tier to drop into.
Yeah, I mean that's as well the thing. Like you've done the one club save, and you've done it really, really well. You're then literally proving the grass is not always greener. Yeah, I nearly won the Champions League. Couldn't stay in the Dutch second division, though, could you? No, you're right, I couldn't. But still,
although to be fair,
it's not a bad manager.
It's extra motivation for the players and backroom staff, though, isn't it? Because instead of being, well, we're going to get relegated, but we might bounce back next year if the foundations are in place. It's just, right, if we go down, this is the vortex. There is, this is where reality ends, and that is where you'll be confined to. So, soz about that.
Yeah, I feel bad for the next manager who comes in as well. Going, so our last manager nearly won the Champions League, right, and got sacked. So pressure's on you, right? Get us out of the Dutch regional leagues. Get us back into the second division. That'd be lovely.
I want
as well. Fair play, you've taken the job of the manager who got them into the second division. Like he's done the greatest job in that club's history, and you've went, move over, nerds. Here I come.
I want to build. I want to build another story with Reinsberg, kind of like how I built with Wrexham. You know, like I got a couple of my Dutch viewers talking about, they were going to go and get a Reinsberg scarf, but they want to wait a season to just make sure I don't get relegated before they do that.
Yeah, imagine being the sort of idiot who would, like, you know, get a shirt delivered on stream and then not even see that season out. I mean, what sort of idiot would do that?
I don't know. I've not experienced that with Wrexham, have I?
I feel like I'm about to get blamed for that again. Was it you, Rich? Did you do that? Probably. Never even managed in Cyprus. What's this doing behind me? Who knows?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. We have to come and keep our eyes on it. So we'll plug that right at the end. We'll make sure that everyone comes and hangs out. Other things we want to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about PvP. We've mentioned MGP, and we need to say, I'm going to say, right, when it comes to drafting, you are my favorite person to watch because it's just Alice time. Like I remember the last playoffs, I was doing the panel. Stick Piano was going mental because he's like, I've given Alice a plan. Alice's first pick, she goes and does something else, and he's going, the plan's fucked. And I'm going, yep. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Do not sign, like previously, do not sign Variety. Do not sign Variety. I've signed Variety. Oh dear. But I love it. You've got your system. You're there for entertainment, and man, like you crushed the last playoffs.
Yeah, like that was the last playoffs was an experience. So when I did the draft, as you just touched on there, like Stick Piano was obviously, like head in his hands after my first pick because he was expecting me to pick Reece James. I picked
Trent,
Trent Alexander-Arnold, and so Stick had given me a shortlist to work from, and I looked at the shortlist. And it was kind of too overwhelming because I don't follow football IRL that much. When I look at a short list of like 100+ players, it's too much. I don't know these names. I don't know a lot of these names. There's obviously some of the bigger ones I will know. I've come across them along the way anyway. And it's just a list of random names to me. And so I kind of have to build, when I do a short list, I have to build it from scratch. I have to go into the search engine and look by attributes and just go through the players that, whether I've viewed them or not, I need to build that shortlist from scratch for me to understand the shortlist. And that's what the problem was there, is that Stick Piano's shortlist was excellent. I didn't get a read on it. I didn't know what I was meant to do with it, if that makes any sense. So I started from scratch with my own shortlist, bringing it in with players I felt comfortable drafting, and they all hated it. Like, I think the entire panel hated it. And Tony, like you gave me some credit, but I'm pretty sure it was sympathy credit for my draft.
I'll be honest. I did give it a bad score at the end. I was like, Alice had a stinker here, but I was like, but I think she'll do something with it. Like I just looked at it and went, there's madness, but there's definitely method. There's definitely, because now you've said that out loud, that makes sense. Watching you draft, you feel your way through it. It's not just like, these are my names and it's calculating. If I miss out this pick, I get this pick. If I miss out that pick, I get that pick. You're like, well, you know what? That player looks like he might do it, right? Maybe if we do this sort of thing, that's quite good. And, oh, maybe they've got a bit of something that might fit in there. And it's more of a, it's organic. There's emotion behind it. It's not just, like I say, right, spreadsheet manager where, right, okay, so cell 1 A3 is gone, so I've got to go with cell A7 now to fill right back option 2. Like, it's not that. And I think the more I've watched you do it, the more I appreciate how you do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's funny you should bring the word emotion involved. And like, I think for me, playing Football Manager, like it is an emotional game. To like, I do everything what I feel is right, what I feel is the most fun. Everything I do in Football Manager is all about emotion. It's not calculated, or not to not completely calculated anyway. So when I did that draft, I felt as though I had done well, not an amazing job, but I thought I drafted well. I looked at my draft and I'm just like, I love this team. What I've built, I think, is really good. And then I went over to the playoffs to kind of to see what you said about it, and you were all destroying it. And that happened for the entire time between the actual draft and then the tournament itself. And even on the tournament, my team got a lot of stick for that. So that entire time, everyone was just completely destroying my team, and I thought it was amazing. And what happened there is I got a renewed sense of determination to win the tournament.
Yeah.
I have never had determination to win a draft tournament like I did the FM playoffs, just because I felt I had a good team and no one else agreed with me, and I needed to prove everyone wrong. Unfortunately, I don't think I quite did that. We got to the semi-finals, and then we lost. Unfortunately, I felt as though I got maybe a wee bit FM'd against Mozza, but Mozza did amazing anyway. Mozza had a great tournament, so fair play to him. And after that loss, it was back to the end of the Wrexham save, where it was an emotional moment where after I had said goodbye to Mozza, after I had congratulated him, that was it. That was me silent for the next like 3-4 minutes of the stream, as myself and my chat trying to try to comprehend our loss, and I felt as though I deserved it. But it was an amazing tournament, and I loved being part of it, and I can't wait to be part of another one in the future.
I loved watching that tournament. You know, it was, you know, I wasn't doing, you know, I wasn't on panels for that. So I just got to sit back and enjoy it and watch it. And, you know, like Tony said, I love the way that you draft, because, you know, it's no spreadsheets, just vibes. And I respect that enormously. You know, you know, my PvP experience is comparatively limited. You know, I've done bits and pieces, but, you know, I've not done the playoffs properly, which, you know, I've not done much. And I think I draft quite similarly to yourself. I'm not a spreadsheet guy. I'm not a huge shortlist guy. I'm like, hey, I like the look of this player. This player might do a job. You know, shout out to panelists at How We Roll Owen. We between us now, we have a mutual love of Dimitri Payet because of a good draft that I had with him, where I just turned him into the greatest Trakatista in the world. And, you know, it's that kind of thing. And I respected that enormously. And I think the thing that I enjoyed most about the last playoffs was like watching your performance throughout. Obviously, finishing as a semi-finalist is nothing to be ashamed of by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the icing on the cake for me, the thing I enjoyed about it the most, was what happened a couple of days later. Because, you know, you've seen, you know, we've all seen films like 8 Mile. We've seen battle raps. We've seen diss tracks. We've never seen a 433 comic diss track before. Like the gentlest, just, you know, Mozza in a 433. That was more cutting than anything anybody else could have done. It was so good. It was so perfectly pitched. That was when I saw it, I was like, I don't think I've ever liked anything on Twitter so quickly. It's so good.
It was a mouse drop, wasn't it? Just like
I completely forgot about that comic.
I love it.
I've got to say, like, I mean, you're right. Like I think the reaction to the draft, I think it was mentioned by a couple of competitors actually, that like, oh, the panel hated everything. The panel hated everything. I think there was a bit of a sense of that. I think because I was hosting it, so obviously I'm sort of watching this go down as well as we're doing it. And you're right, there was a little bit more of sort of like, let's try to steer this back a bit. Let's try and steer. I think some of the picks were surprises. There was certainly some picks I held up as surprises, but maybe that's because with some of the pools, you see the same players going with the same people, and you know people are going to use the same tactics, and like, you know where people are going with stuff. So when you see something that's a little bit off, then maybe it does take you a little bit by surprise. But looking, as I say now, and obviously listening to how you've articulated your feelings, it now makes a lot more sense. And that's, you know, partly where I was going, there's a plan. I know how Alice is going to play. I think it might shock people because that's the way football is, you know, and that's the way it works. Like, you know, you had a bit of rub in the previous month. We had some incredible match that the United City FM still has sleepless nights over. The fact you managed to get that, and it's like, you've got that in your locker, so you know what you're doing. Like, it's not. it's not just like a random pick, just like, oh, you know, that'll do. It was just, I think it's because it was like the fact that Stick's on the panel. I'm just like, she ignored your list. She ignored your list. She's going to do her own thing. She was better than you, and you know what? You did. You absolutely did, because you got to the semi-finals. So
I think there's a world in which had I maybe stuck to Stick's plan, then maybe I had better chance of winning it. But again, it's down to the point that you've got to be comfortable with what you're doing. You can't play the players. You can't play a system that somebody's built for you if you aren't comfortable with it. And for me, like the system that Stick had built for me, I was comfortable with. You know, together, Stick and I, we built a tactic. Mostly Stick, but I had input in this one. And I was comfortable with that tactic because Stick knew what I wanted, and we had built that. But with the shortlist, I had no input in that, and so I was uncomfortable with it, and so I couldn't use it. And I think that's what you got to be. Whatever you're doing in Football Manager, you have to be comfortable with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, and especially when you're putting yourself out there in front of people, and it's a competitive environment as well. Like, it's all well and good knowing the tactic inside out, but as you say, if you've not got the players that are going to work in that system, then if you don't know the players yourself inside out, what do you do when that tactic doesn't work?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know a tactic that's going to work with those players to get around it, and all of a sudden you've lost all 5 matches and you're out and you're upset. Like, so I respect what you did much more than just going along with it. Like, you could have done it, but instead you were just like, no, do it my way. As Rich said, vibes, and then because of the vibes, you then get the Alice rave. So, do you know what I mean? That's what it's all about, right?
Exactly, 100%. Like I've stepped in for Tony in the playoffs, very, very short notice. And there's nothing more intimidating than coming face to face with the squad that, it's not necessarily the squad that you would have drafted, and just kind of trying to throw something tactically together very, very quickly. And then, especially as well, that was my first interaction with a lot of people from the community, people like McKinn's, people like Mike, like Sweet Left Foot, I've watched you, and we've never had that kind of interaction. And now suddenly here I am. Hello, it's me, Tony's friend, and now we're going to play that game of FM together, and it's probably going to go really, really badly. And I just want you to know that if I drafted this team myself, it'd be very different. The results would be the same. You'd all batter me, but I'm doing it with somebody else's team, and suddenly there's a lot of eyes on you that you wouldn't necessarily expect there to be. And trying to do that with somebody else's team it's not an easy thing to do. So, especially being, I was in a position where I was like, hey, I'll step in and I'll help my friend. You're in a position where, you've had some support from somebody like Stick, and you've got a short list and you've got a way of doing it. And then the bravery to step away from that and be like, hey, I'm going to do this my own way. Again, that's such a commendable thing, and I respect it enormously.
So there's something with Football Manager that going over to that, like going with that about like doing your own thing that's comfortable. So I've played Football Manager for like 20 plus years actually. I think like Championship Manager 001 was probably my first one. And throughout that time, I always thought I knew what I was doing. It was the Dunning-Kruger effect, where when you start something, you start learning something, you're really confident about what you're doing. And I was really confident about my knowledge of Football Manager. And then I started streaming. Then I started making my comics, started streaming, started getting into the community, and then being introduced to individuals like RDF, Stick Piano. You realize that you do not know nearly as much as you think about the game of Football Manager. And I think that's kind of what I've realized doing these drafts, is that I do not know nearly as much as Stick Piano. And so sometimes when I look at what other people are doing, yes, I know they're doing the correct thing. They're doing the best. They got the best tactics. They've got the best ideas of what they're going to do. But I don't, like, I could look at what they're doing and I'm just like, I don't understand it. I don't understand what they're doing. I need to understand. If I'm going to do what they're doing, I need to understand it. And so if I don't understand it, I have to do my own thing until I get to the point where I understand. And understand more about the game, understand the more nuances. What on earth you do with Ingonch? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to do with Ingonch.
When you find out, can you let us know as well? Because I'd love to use it, but I've never been able to find it. You stick Morten Gans Pedersen there. That's what I think you do. Right? It's just...
Speaking of Morten Gans Pedersen, Morten Gans Pedersen was one of the best things I've ever done in Football Manager. When I drafted Morten Gans Pedersen, I knew who he was. That's when he was around when I used to follow football the most in my life. So I know who he is. And then drafted him. No one saw it. No one expected Morten Gans Pedersen to be drafted, let alone to get into the starting 11 of that particular competition and get man of the tournament, because he was the best player in that tournament rating wise and played every game of it. No one expected that. And ever since then, that moment has been kind of tied into who I am in the community. You know, whenever I'm drafting, when the announcements are always like, is she going to pick Morten Gans Pedersen, or there's no Morten Gans Pedersen here, what's she going to do, and all that kind of thing, jazz. And I love being tied to the narrative of that. I don't want to just be the numbers. I love the narrative of having a player that I'm always going to draft in the tournament.
It's the fact as well that because it came from left field, and again, I think I was on the panel that night when you drafted it, because it came from left field. A lot of people were like, oh, no one drafts Morten Gans Pedersen, and then the penny dropped, and it was like, why is no one drafting Morten Gans Pedersen all the time? This is the greatest pick ever. Because people then start to go, but all the things you can do, like why has no one done it? And then you're right, then you rolled it out, and that tournament he just kept crushing it every single match. And I made a point whenever there was stats being in the background. I was like, can I just quickly say, by Morten Gans Pedersen currently has 10 assists. He's played 3 matches. And I was selling it all the way. I was like, right, yeah, Gams Pedersen's is your man.
So that Morten Gans Pedersen pick, it was the last pick of the last pick of the tournament. You know, again, like I wasn't attached to Morten Gans Pedersen before that moment. And I saw him on the list. I didn't know who to bring in as my last pick. And then I saw Morten Gans Pedersen. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to draft Morten Gans Pedersen. And it's a lovely quote I like. It's called Art Through Adversity. And it's very versatile. And I think it works here. You know, I didn't know what I was doing. So I picked Morten Gans Pedersen, who is somebody no one will ever pick. And it turns out he's the art that I was looking for in that tournament.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Love it. Always expect the unexpected. That's what we need to do. Go, what's she going to do? I like it. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to mention one more thing. Then we'll start looking to wrap up. You've mentioned you don't really watch as much IRL football as you maybe would like to, or maybe have done previously. Again, hands up in the air, doing exactly the same these days, for many different reasons. But you can see something quite shiny in the background that you've been currently advertising on the stream. We've all done the. So let me quickly just for the YouTube viewers. I've done it in the past. Euro 2000 and Scotland. Rich has got one as well. We've got our sticker albums on the go. Alice, what's your sticker album?
My sticker album is the Women's Euros 2022, which I am so excited for. No, as you mentioned there, like I don't follow IRL football that much. I haven't done so in a very long time. But since streaming, almost all the other streamers, as well as, you know, the individuals in my chat, all follow football IRL. And I feel a bit lost when people start talking about these players and the players and teams and what's happening in real life. And I just don't know what's going on. Like somebody will mention something about a player, or what do I think of this? What do I think of what just happened here? I'm just like, I have no idea. And
Yeah.
I want to start getting into football, not just because not just because I do actually enjoy it. I've just been too lazy the last 10 plus years to keep up. I want to be able to interact with my chat about it. I want to be able to interact with other streamers about it. So my plan is over like the next year is to start going to Cardiff games, start going to the Welsh games, start keeping up with what's happening in the Premier League on a daily basis. And from the moment I made this decision, the season had already ended, and the first tournament that's coming up was the Women's Euros 2022. And I was like, you know what? Let's get the sticker book. Let's learn who all these players are. Use the sticker book to kind of learn who's in the squad, learn the best players in the squad. And it's going to be, I'm so looking forward to the Women's Euros. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, I must admit, I don't know as much about the women's game as I would like to. I'm certainly looking forward to the Euros to broaden my knowledge a little bit more, to be honest. But obviously, the popularity is increasing. I remember when women's football first came out, I had some friends who played when they went to uni. So we're talking, 20 odd years ago now. And it was nothing. There was no such thing as women's football really in the grand scheme of things back at that point. To see the strides the game has made now, obviously, is fantastic to watch. To see the level of athletes that these women now are, the level of coaching, not just male coaches who are coaching, but the level of female coaches that are in there doing superb jobs. Shout out to Emma Hayes, of course, who's clearly off to manage some non-league club in Holland at some point. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it as well. We've obviously spoken to Tina Keach, who's the head of women's football at Sports Interactive and Football Manager. Because, of course, in the next few years, we don't know the exact date, of course, but coming up soon is going to be women's football represented in Football Manager. And, like, what do you think, Alice? Do you think it's going to bring in a new level of player, a new style of player, a new level of creators? Like, how do you see women's football in Football Manager developing? Do you think it's going to be the same people, or do you think it's going to bring a completely different crowd?
I would like to see, and I'm hoping it is going to bring in a different crowd of content creators, not just content creators, but of just players in general. I cannot tell you how excited I am for women's football to come into FM. And I understand it's probably not going to be FM23. Some people have said that, but I'm just like, it seems a bit too unrealistic. It would be nice if it was, but it's probably not going to be. And I'm hoping that in seeing women's football in Football Manager, more female players, more female gamers will pick up Football Manager. And because you do get a sense of detachment from football when the biggest news articles are all about men's football, and then women's football kind of gets swept under the rug a bit. But honestly, like, from what I've seen of women's football, it is it's just as entertaining as men's football, and at the moment as well, it's better value for money. Because you go to a men's game, the tickets are so expensive. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially for some of the bigger clubs, and even in non-league football, the tickets even in non-league football are now so expensive compared to what they used to be. But because women's football doesn't quite have the reputation yet, even though these players are at the top of their game, the tickets are less than a tenner for some of like the biggest matches. So there's value for money in women's football for somebody that likes to watch football. And in Football Manager, I think it will do something similar. It will bring in a completely different style of play as well. So I think even a lot of the current player base will be interested in it. I don't think it's ever going to make what I like about something that Sports Interactive said when they announced it was it's not going to make them money. Bringing women's football into Football Manager isn't going to make them money. but it's the correct thing to do. And I love the fact that they're doing that. They will probably take a hit financially from it, but they're doing it because they love football. And it's a testament to how much love they put into Football Manager. And I think we will see that over the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think from myself, I'm really looking forward to see, because again, we've spoken to a few people, and they're not going to do it half-assed at all. It's going to be, they're going to do it properly, as you say. They're going to do it right. And I love the day that we're going to turn on Twitch and there's going to be someone, might be a small creator, might be a huge creator, that's streaming women's football on Football Manager. I think that's class. I think that's really, really class. Like, the saves on there, and you know what? What's even better? Just don't even mention who. Just have the team name streaming. That's what it needs to be. Just that's how it is, and just it's football.
Yeah,
you know, and that's, if it brings in people, because again, if you look at people who want to be represented, you know, there's a generation now of women who grow up looking at these players, going, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to be a footballer, and now it's a viable option, and there is that media exposure now. The talent level is improving beyond God knows what, like, from the last few years. Like, Europe is catching up. America always led the way, obviously, but you know, Europe is now catching up. Facilities are there. There's the investment coming in. Granted, not where it should be, but it's there. The big clubs are starting to put the money in, and as you say, like, the tickets are reasonably priced. And correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the largest population or the largest turnout in a women's match now in the last few years has been the Barcelona game, I think, wasn't it? Barcelona Champions League. I think they broke the record for the women's game, and it's like, yeah, I think there's a demand there.
Yeah,
I think there's a demand.
Yeah, records are being broken with women's football. I went to a Welsh game a couple of months ago, and when I went to that game, it was the highest attendance for a women's Welsh game at like ever. And that's just an example of what's happening. You know, that's just a small example, and then you just bring in the Barcelona game as well, and it is getting there. It's obviously a slow process, but people are enjoying it, and and rightly so. It's not just because it isn't just because we should be supporting women's football. It's not just that. It's because it's actually good football. It's entertaining. And they are amazing players, and they deserve our support just as much as any men's team does.
100%, exactly. It's easy for a lot of people to kind of become disinterested in football at a higher level. I don't support a Premier League club. I don't even support a club that play in the Championship. I support a club that play in League One, and I've struggled at the best of times within the last 3 or 4 years to even try and maintain any kind of affiliation with that team, just because there's so much off the field just drama. There's so much going on, and it happens at football at a high level. It's easy to understand why people could just lose interest, because there's just it's not just about what happens on the pitch. It's not, you can't just watch it and enjoy the football, because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes and goes on around it.
Yeah.
Whereas the women's game is played to such a high standard, and exactly like you say, Alice, it's good football. Just at its core, it's a very, very high standard of entertaining and fun to watch football. But there's not the level of kind of behind the scenes nonsense that goes on with it that you see on a daily basis in the men's game. You don't see, a female footballer accused of something horrible having happened, or there's no ridiculous contract disputes, or this player is holding out for £300,000 a week, or they're going to walk next season. It's just football being played for the sake of playing really, really good football. And that in and of itself should be such a huge motivator for people that are watching things at the Premier League and just feeling disenfranchised by it, feeling like this isn't football for me anymore. There is other football out there that's being played to such a high standard, such an entertaining standard, that is available to you. There's so many of your kind of your local football league clubs will have some kind of women's football attached to it. It's there for people to go out and watch. And something like the Women's Euros is going to be such a huge opportunity for people again to just go, actually, you know what? I enjoy the sport of football, and here it is available to me, being played to such a high standard. It's baffling that more people wouldn't just want to get behind that anyway. And exactly the same with FM moving forwards. The introduction of the women's game to it is going to be huge. And I think you're right. SI have said we're not doing this for financial reasons. It's not going to be a big money spinner, but they're doing it because they want it done, and they want it done correctly. And like I said, I cannot wait for the day that you log into Twitch and it's there on the front page, somebody playing FM, and it's the women's game. It's going to be exceptional. I can't wait for it. It's the first thing that I will do when it's available, because I'm just excited to be able to manage in the women's game. I think it's going to be an absolutely fantastic thing. Can't wait.
There's something you mentioned earlier about it doesn't matter whether it's women's or men's games, and from what SIO said, bringing women's game into your world will be as simple as just adding the leagues like you do currently anyway.
Yeah.
And so I love the idea of going back and forth through these leagues, maybe starting in the women's game, going over to the men's, and then back to the women's. That sounds so much fun to me. I love that idea.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome, isn't it? And that's what it's all about, just we live in these universes, and there's infinite possibilities with it. And yeah, I'm very, very, very excited about it. I can't wait. So do keep us, obviously, we will of course keep our eyes on the women's Euros. We'll put some links down below, of course, to keep our views on. If at any point you want to pop back and talk Euros, feel free. Of course, we can do some more chats there. Questions, however, before we finish up, questions from the community. My favorite little bits of these podcasts now. We start putting them out going, any questions for our guests? And some questions, I think, Alice, some questions is where we've gone. So we've got a question from Tim Lewis, who said, having spent so long managing Wrexham, do you now have a soft spot for us?
The answer is yes and no. So it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that I do have a soft spot for Wrexham now, but not necessarily for the team that exists IRL, but for the team I built. For the team I built all over those 22 years in 22 years in game. And I have far more affiliation or far more love and knowledge of the players that were in my final team sheet than that were in my first team sheet. So yes, I do have a bit of a soft spot for Wrexham now, but not as much as you would think, unfortunately. Not the actual IRL team Wrexham. I'll definitely root for them, but unfortunately not supporting wise.
Sounds a lot like they didn't build a statue of you.
That'll be it. They named this. They didn't even name our new stadium after me. I was so gutted about that.
Hey, I love Blythe Spartans, just in case anyone's interested. I love Blythe Spartans. They did build a statue.
Alice loves the concept of Wrexham. I think that's what I'm taking from this.
Yeah.
Love that. So Martin van der Vecht has asked a question that is not related to food, because we'll get into the food questions in a second. Does she feel that she is more, by the way, is Alice, do you feel more into real life football now than before, now you've spent so much time in FM and with the FM community? I guess we've kind of touched upon that a little bit, but
yeah, we that is definitely a thing that's happened now. I know a lot more about football now than I did 8 months ago when I started streaming. However, it's still the Dunning-Kruger effect, where right now I think I know lots about football, and then as the 8 months have gone past, I realize the more I learn about football, the more I learn that I don't actually know anything about football. And so I need to get to the point, I want to get to the point where I'm happy to have a conversation with someone about football, about IRL football, and I want to enjoy it, because I do enjoy football. I do enjoy going to games. I do enjoy watching on TV. I'm just lazy. I'm just too lazy.
Outside, dirty.
Yeah, no, don't go
not
to
for
the
me,
outside.
thank you. Alistair, ask her about the betrayal.
Oh, the betrayal. Wait, the betrayal. That was. Oh, I think I was talking to Alistair on Discord, and he mentioned something, right? And it was about Mozza. Honestly, I can't actually even remember what it was about. But I mentioned something, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you could. Oh yeah. That's what it was. It was about the playoffs and my defeat against Mozza in the playoffs. And I told Ali, like, look, next time I'm coming back and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna beat everyone. I'm gonna come back with a vengeance. And then he said something about like, yes, kill Mozza. And then I was just like, I'm going to tell Mozza this. so I screenshotted the conversation that like Ali had basically told me to kill Mozza. And I'm just like, Mozza, you need to watch your back here. Like Ali's trying to take over the FM playoffs for good.
I love that. Beautiful. Oh, you know what? That would be the most ridiculous thing that we've said so far. Although the next question is probably the most ridiculous thing we've seen on Twitter in the past few weeks. Jebaru, the lovely Jebaru, a man who we love dearly in our community. Yorkshire puddings. Why? Question mark.
No.
So on my chat, on my stream, we don't actually talk about football that much. We talk about everything, but we obviously, we talk about the game. We do talk about a wee bit of IRL football, but for the most part, we talk about other things. That's what we do. We chat about just random stuff, and sometimes it's about food. And we got onto the subject of Yorkshire puddings, and I brought it up that, oh yeah, like you could put chocolate sauce on Yorkshire puddings and it works well. And then I put it on Twitter or something like that. And then Twitter decided that I was wrong. And everyone's up in arms about it.
From what I saw, you'd initially said that you could have a Yorkshire pudding with your breakfast.
No, that's not. No. Someone else said that.
No, because I tried to. I didn't try to defend. This is the only time I haven't tried to defend you. I'm sorry, Alice.
Sorry,
right?
Yeah.
From what I understand, it was a Yorkshire pudding can go on a cooked breakfast, and everyone kicked off and went, no. And I'd said something like, well, Yorkshire pudding mix is technically just pancake batter.
Yeah.
Really. So I wasn't saying you were right, but I also wasn't saying you were 100% wrong. And then you followed it up with, but you can put chocolate on it. I was like, no, I can't. I can't do anything.
The thing is, right, you can't knock it until you tried it. And believe it or not, like you said, it's essentially the same as pancake mix. It's cooked differently, but chocolate sauce on Yorkshire pudding works. Try it. Go try it. Come back to me and apologize for everything you ever said about chocolate sauce on Yorkshire pudding.
This is where I stand on this. Now, it just for a bit of additional kind of context to this. I know we talked earlier in the record about kind of PvP and the playoffs, and Alice's squad in the last playoffs taking a few pelters from people. I think one of the playoffs before, and I think it was the draft where the draft pool was countries that hadn't qualified for the World Cup, and Alice drafted Marco Verratti, and I had some opinions on it. After we'd finished recording after we'd finished the streams, I DM'd Alice to apologise if I'd gone in a little bit too hard on the Verratti picks, because in hindsight, I felt bad about it. I was like, maybe I've said some things and I didn't want to seem like I was being too harsh. I felt really bad in hindsight, so I'll DM Alice and I'll say I'm sorry, and I stand by it. However, when I saw chocolate sauce on Yorkshire puddings, I was like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take her details and I'm going to forward them to the police, and I'm going to make sure they go around her house, smash the door in, and drag her off in a riot van, because quite clearly there is some deviant behaviour going on here. I cannot abide it, and it makes me feel physically ill. I'm sorry, Alice, but there's food is subjective, but your opinion on that is wrong.
The thing is, there's part of me can see. I can see how it can work. I can see how chocolate and Yorkshire puddings can work. I just don't. No. I'm in my head now. I'm getting flavour. So welcome to MasterChef therapy right now. I'm getting flavour profiles, right? Like we're not talking about your Aunt Bessie's shit, right? Okay, not your frozen Yorkshire puddings.
Probably homemade.
A proper Yorkshire pudding. Yeah. A proper Yorkshire pudding, and with like a melted chocolate. I can almost see it, right? I can understand how it would work. You'd have to, the Yorkshire pudding couldn't be greasy though, because then the grease would interfere with the chocolate.
Right, yeah.
So if you had a beautiful Yorkshire pudding with some chocolate,
Nice
right?
and
Okay,
crisp.
I understand how that could work,
but
I'm going to leave it there.
Because
technically, I think about it, like a choux pastry and an eclair is not a million miles away. You would eat a chocolate eclair with chocolate on the top, and it's pastry. It's just
exactly.
There
bread, really. Like
there are so few
and then you
things
put cream in the middle of it.
No.
You're not a million miles off, Alice, right? I'm joining you you in the cell. Right?
There are so few things in this world that I'm good at, right? There's a finite amount of things that I'm good at. Cooking is one of them. My Yorkshire pudding game is strong.
All right, melt a Yorkie on top of it, then see how it tastes.
No, straight to jail with you. How dare you? If I served up my Yorkshire pudding system, I go boss with this, just a little bit of Nutella. No.
What's funny about all this is that there's still a couple of people that are like, I'm pretty sure Alice is just trolling us. Like, I'm pretty sure she doesn't do this. It's like, yeah, I've done it before, and you know what? It is good. It's not a troll.
Furious.
Oh, you know what? I think this is probably the right time then. If you want to follow Alice and offer your opinions on Yorkshire puddings and chocolate and various culinary delights that may or may not taste very nice, Alice, where can people find you on Twitter? Where can people find your comic? And more importantly, where can people find you taking over in small Dutch towns on your stream?
So you can find my my comic on Twitter, which is FMGirl_433, I think. I can't remember.
I love how you always have to keep looking.
I'm sure you'll link it. Like, hopefully
it's
you will.
FM_girl433. I have to do this for our guests now. Like every week, it's just like, what's my links again?
Yeah. And you can find me on Twitch as well, where we are streaming the Rangeba Boys save, which is going to be an absolute chaos. It's going to be chaos, like compared to the Wrexham save, and that you can find again, same as my my Twitter handle. It's going to be FM_girl433.
Lovely stuff. Looking forward to it. Search FM Girl, it'll turn up. The links are in the description anyway for you if you're not sure. Definitely go and check that out. It's going to be absolute riot watching it. Rich, where can we find yourself?
At Rich Owens FM on Twitter, twitch.tv/Rich Owens FM. Please come and watch my mediocre streaming content. We have a nice time sometimes. We're doing Sheffield Wednesday in the past, and it's going okay.
Excellent stuff. I also forgot to mention, we mentioned at the start, this month's Discord challenge is awful. It's the mad scientist has you talk about trolls. The mad scientist has done one here. He knows that I didn't enjoy managing Aberdeen in FM21, so has suggested that we have a season managing Aberdeen in 1992-93 database. So if you want to have a go at that, come and join the Discord. Come and hang out with us. It is just a bit of fun. It's normally meant to be some club or league you haven't managed in before. Come and hang out with us. Have a little try at that. And I'm sure you'll do better than me because I will be sacked by December. It's just the way we work. Obviously, if you want to get in touch with myself, it's at Tony Jameson on Twitter and it's Tony Jameson FM on Twitch. Or you can follow the podcast at FMTPod on Twitter. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/Football Manager Therapy. And you can follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/FMTPod. You can join us for as little as £1 a month. You get the weekly episodes a couple of days early, and you also get some access to things like save files and stuff if you join the other tier as well. But for £1 a month, I think that's pretty fine, to be honest. This has been fun. I've enjoyed this. Alice, do please come back again. Talk to us some more. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all stay safe. See you soon. Take care. We'll catch you up very, very shortly on another episode of Football Manager Therapy.